Did you hear about the big recall on Capri Suns? There's a.
Stop.
Oh wait, you just had 2 of those earlier today, didn't you? Shit.
That's not real. It didn't happen.
Well, doesn't matter now. You'll be okay.
You're too polite to your chat. Am I?
Oh, did you start telling a joke?
No.
Oh, well, George said finish the joke.
Well, it said, you said, did you hear about the recall? It just sounded like a joke, I think.
Oh, I get it. No, that was dead serious. Sarah drank 2 of them earlier today. I guess that's the punchline.
What do I enjoy eating, Josh?
Well,
Because the
pasta.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese? Yeah.
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 I've been eating a lot of rice with chickpeas, like roasted chickpeas and tomatoes with like hummus and like a lemon crema sauce that I make, and then some vegan feta on top. It's pretty good, like roasted red pepper hummus.
Tofu.
Sounds pretty good.
Tofu. I like tofu. I eat a lot of tofu.
Yeah.
All right, how's the sound? How is Josh sound? How is Pavlikich sound?
Hello. Yes.
It's good. Not too loud, not too quiet.
Should I woo to test?
Yeah.
Woo!
All right, Josh. Now you.
Woo!
Oh, let me. Oh man, that wasn't clippable. Okay, now it's clippable. Too late now. Okay. All right, give us another woo.
Woo.
Ah, damn.
No. Woo! Josh. Woo! Come on.
Whoa!
Oh my god, Josh's balls are too low. Alright. Alright, hello YouTube. Hello.
5 minute Daniel giggle. Hi YouTube.
Hi.
Alright.
Daniel had
Anyway,
a giggle-gasm.
I'm gonna start over, okay? Are we ready?
You don't want gigglegasm in the video, really?
I mean, I could go either way, honestly.
That's what she said. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, starting now. Hello YouTube.
Hi YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
Alright, today.
Woo!
Woo! Alright.
Woo!
Alright, starting over. Let's start over.
What is this, take 6?
Yeah. Wait, it has to be good. Okay. Hello YouTube. I have some guests with me today.
Hello YouTube.
Hello, YouTube.
We have Josh and Pavlikich. And they're gonna be telling me how bad I am because I streamed this game that we're gonna be looking at today on my Twitch channel and they did commentary. So we're gonna have some real insight here. Right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's right.
So I played a I don't know if anyone remembers a game that I played a while ago where I was like +8 and I found a way to lose. This was the same opponent. So I was a little nervous. And I also do not have my openings sorted out at all. And the time control was game 70 with a 10-second delay, which is very fast, for me at least.
Pretty degen time control, to be honest.
Yeah. Very American, North American.
Yeah. Kona time control.
So, Okay, so my opponent played e4, I played c5, and he played knight f3, and I played knight c6. For no particular reason. Just wanted to develop my knight.
So you could play the accelerated dragon, right?
Right?
Yes. Okay. d4, c takes d, and c3. And we have a, what is this called, Josh?
A bad move order to reach the Alapin by white.
Yeah. So, like, normal moves, I guess, would be this. And this is the thing.
Yeah. Yep. Knight f3 is okay. I used to think that white was actually worse after knight f3 e5, but I actually analyzed it a decent amount, and it's equal. It's actually kind of a tricky line, by the way, for black. Like, black kind of needs to know what they're doing, but if you do, then black's has no problems whatsoever, and it's actually white who has to be careful to equalize.
Yeah,
this is actually not super simple.
I was not aware of this. I'm pretty sure this is what was in my book anyway. Or maybe it's not, but this transposes into something I've seen.
Yeah, probably this move order isn't even in the book, honestly, because it's just not like a very good move order by white. Because it gives you two good options. You actually have three good options after c3 here. You could take, of course, which is fine. You could play e5, which black is absolutely fine, or you could play knight f6 like you did, and black is absolutely fine. So.
Yeah, perhaps I played the most inferior move. I don't know.
No. I mean, I think it's the third ranking move maybe on the computer, but I don't think it's really worse than the other two.
Yeah, I mean, white's not really playing super testing openings right now, so I can be equal in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even better if I took, I don't know. But okay, my opponent plays e5, knight d5, and I'm spending time on these moves. Not that much time so far, but after this move, I think I spent some time, like maybe 5 minutes here.
Now we're in the c3 Sicilian, or otherwise known as...
You spent a minute here.
Oh, I only spent a minute here. Okay. I guess I was more confident than I thought. So I played d6.
Yeah.
And after bishop c4, I vaguely remembered, because the way I've been studying openings is I have my book, and instead of putting it in an opening trainer like Chessable, where they like train each move at least 3 times, like you have to drill it in order to learn it, I've looked at every move once in my book, and there were like 3,800 moves. So I had to still think here, even though I was pretty sure I remembered. So I played d takes e5. And the point is, I think if he takes with the knight, just e6 anyway, and he has an isolated pawn, and I don't really have any problems. And I have something to play against. And he takes with the pawn here, and here I had to have spent like 10-15 minutes, right?
Yes, 15.
15 minutes.
Which is a little excessive at this time control, but he did come up with the right move, so that's quite good.
Right, so the problems in this position... Okay, basically my only problem piece is my light squared bishop in most lines. And in most lines, if I'm able to trade it off, I'm doing great. Because either it's going to get trapped behind my pawn, or I'm going to go and get trapped on this side of the pawn, and then maybe have light squared weaknesses all around my queen side. Same thing if I play b6, that might be kind of weakening. So If I just play e6, he castles, and bishop e7. I'm just not super happy with this position. It's gonna take a long time to fix this guy. Maybe I will do this, but that's very optimistic, and I'm not sure if it's even ever gonna be good.
Yeah, white's a bit better.
So bishop e6 is another move that I considered. I may be playing g6, but
that's Shanklin's line, by the way.
Okay.
In one of his courses. Yeah, I like the move you played a lot more though. I think this line is kind of ugly, but it probably equalizes though, because you allow knight g5 and knight takes e6, and even though it's ugly, it's probably fine for black.
Yeah, I mean the pawns are ugly and isolated and doubled, but we're still controlling these squares. So they're doing things, and our knight is pretty good. And this pawn is going to be overextended in every line pretty much. So the only move that really solves my problems is knight d to b4, which I was pretty sure I remembered seeing, but I didn't want to just play a move because, oh, I'm pretty sure this is in my book, without knowing exactly why. And if it doesn't look logical to me, I'm not going to play it, because maybe I'll play it in a position where it's just not good. Or I'll just think I'm in the position, you know what I mean? So I sat here for 15 minutes before I played this move, and I looked at like every possible move here. Just to check everything. So the moves I checked were, okay, castles, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, bishop g4. If I play knight c2, I feel like my development is really fucking bad, and I might get mated. I didn't feel like I could take there. Maybe I can take on a3 and play like bishop g5 or bishop f5. I'm not too sure, but these are just like some things I looked at a little bit, and I thought it looked okay, especially if I'm getting my bishop outside of the pawn chain before I get to play e6. Then I thought it was fine. Also, trading queens I was happy with. I looked at queen b3, which is what my opponent played, so we'll get to that. I looked at queen takes d8, followed by knight takes d8, followed by bishop e6, trying to trade off the light squared bishops. I think I want to play bishop e6. Maybe knight e6, I don't know. I wasn't totally sure about it. But this position...
bishop e6 and then g6 and all that makes sense. Looks good.
Yeah, and he still has the problem of the c2 square, so he can either play knight a3, which is just ugly, and then bishop e6, and the knight is very stupid. Or knight d4, defending the c2 square, and then... This is probably a better move because he's also looking at the e6 square. So maybe I just play g6 here or something. Or just put my knight back, actually, and trade some pieces. But I also like this because the e-pawn seems overextended, and I don't have any weaknesses. So, if anything, I'd rather have black here. I looked at queen e2 here, and I saw cool things that I'm trying to remember if they were real or not. I think bishop f5 here, and if he castles bishop d3, and it's similar to what happened in the game, if not an improved version. So I decided it was probably okay.
Probably even better for black.
Yeah.
So you exchange more pieces off.
I haven't committed my a-pawn to anything yet. So
it's probably good to point out too that the reason this line is a good way for black to play for a win is because the white's e5 pawn basically gets more and more weak as more pieces are traded. So it gives you kind of like good long-term chances as black.
Yeah, that's what
as opposed to the other lines. Yeah.
That's what I meant when I said overextended, but I should have been more clear. It's a target.
Yeah.
He's very far away from the rest of his friends. So my opponent played queen b3, and I played e6 because there was a threat on the f7 pawn, so I had to play e6. And now castles.
Queen b3 is actually the best move, I think, too. So I think he actually knew this line, at least to some extent.
I think so.
Yeah.
But he was saying weird things to me in the postmortem, so I'm not sure.
Yikes.
It could be just like his natural desire to, take the f-pawn. That's just what he likes to do.
That's true. It's possible, yeah.
But he also knows theory. So
He did take 8 minutes for queen b3.
Was he smoking?
Okay. Yeah, that's yeah, he does go on smoke breaks a lot.
Oh.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Okay, but he castled, and this is what I expected, and then knight a5 was my move, was my follow-up to putting the knight on b4. And the whole point is to trade off the light-squared bishop. Because, okay, if he doesn't play queen a4 check, I think he played, I don't remember which one he did. These two transpose into the same line, but it's very hard for him to find a square for his queen. And if he just moves his queen, then maybe I'm just winning the bishop pair. So this is kind of forced. And, okay, maybe there are some lines I should address here. If I don't take this, I'm having problems. Plus my queen is overworked. So I mean, this was the goal anyway, so I don't know why I wouldn't do it. And now in this position, it's actually best to just put the knight I just put on a5 back on c6. Blocking the pin, because it's... Yes, I played a lot of moves with this knight just to put it back, and by a lot I mean one. But the whole goal was... In my head, the way I justified it is, if I trade the light squared bishop off, I'm always going to be okay.
And also his queen is like totally misplaced on b5, and it's going to have to waste time to go somewhere else too.
Right. So here's a little exercise for the people in the chat and the people on the YouTube. Why can he not take on b7? Why b7 not hanging?
That's a nice pawn. Right?
Right.
You see b pawn.
That's right, Cheesy Gazebo. Rook b8, and then the queen is trapped. Because the knights create this nice little prison for the queen. I find this very aesthetically pleasing.
Queen is in the gimp suit.
Yes. So, so now, okay, he's developing a piece. Very logical. Okay, here's the problem though. If I play like bishop e7 here, after rook d1, my queen has to go somewhere where I don't want it, and he's just getting the d-file. I mean, if I play queen c7, I might get harassed at some point in some way. And I also don't have a very, very good response to a3. And I felt like white would be taking over. So it's important to throw a6 in first. Again, he can't take on b7 because of rook b8, because this knight was defending the a pawn in the previous position, but now this knight is defending the pawn, and he's still in the prison. So he has to move his queen somewhere. The two moves I really considered were queen c4 and queen e2, and my response to both moves would be the same.
You should ask chat which move is better and why.
Yes, where would you put your queen? On c4 or on e2, and why?
Those are pretty arrows. I like the colors.
They're Ukraine colors.
They are, yeah. That's why I like them.
Zeph Clap wants to go queen c7, rook d8. Incorrect. Cheesy Gazebo just says e2. I don't know what that means. Queen c4 walks into rook c8. No. Okay, creamy cheesecake. Good insight. C4 is more active, and you can easily rotate the queen to the other side. Okay. Yeah, queen e2 is very passive, and my response to both moves will be the same. So if he plays queen c4, I will still play queen d3. Because I want to trade the queens. As we said, this overextended pawn will become more and more of a target the more pieces that are traded off, because it's near my king, you know. And he can try and hang on to it, but it's going to be hard. But in this position, queen g4 is a resource that is available. And in this position, I was going to play queen g6 and insist on trading the queens. And this position is around equal. This open H file might be useful for me at some point. I'd like to get the D file though. However,
I would be happy to play this with black though. This is
yeah.
I think it is equal, but it's just yeah. I would enjoy playing black. Your position is just compact, and you have good squares for everything. And white's the only one with potential weaknesses, really.
Right. And the dream is to put a piece on d6 for white, but it's actually pretty difficult to do. Yes, and as George astutely points out, the d3 square is very important for the knight. Because I'm attacking this pawn, I'm attacking this pawn, stopping this bishop from getting out. I can maybe take the bishop if I want. Which is important in the game as well. So my opponent played queen to e2, which is slightly worse than c4, maybe more than slightly. Because after queen d3, a queen trade is not avoidable.
And also, to point out, the reason that queen c4, rook c8 is not as good as queen d3 is because after queen g4, you don't really have a good answer with black. Because when your queen's on d3, you can go queen g6, and then you force his queen to move, and then you can continue your development. Your bishop on f8 can now move. But with the rook on c8 and the queen on g4, then it's kind of hard for black to complete development, because you don't really want to play g6, because then all your dark squares are like Swiss cheese. So yeah, it's kind of hard to finish developing. So that's why rook c8 wasn't as good cheesy.
That's true. I think another good reason to not play rook c8 is because time is important here on what we're doing with our queen, because if he's able to play rook d1 with a tempo on our queen, that's going to be very bad news for us. So like rook c8, rook d1, for example, where do I put my queen?
Yeah, that is true.
And followed by like a3, and like I have no good square for my knight. Like, my knight might even get trapped because all my shit's in the way. And now when I move my queen off of the d-file, I'm not defending the d5 square anymore. And he has 3 attackers on it, so it's not a very good retreating square.
Yeah, the other reason you kind of need to get queen d3 in is because you actually need to secure a square for your b4 knight, which is a little bit of a problem. So by trading queens, your knight gets to some really nice squares.
Light squares. Go light squares.
Yes. Yes.
How is queen a5 after rook d1? Queen a5, a3.
And then b4?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that too, you can't take the pawn.
You might want to show, like, there was a line we were looking at during the game where queen a5 was a pretty good resource, but it was earlier.
Earlier?
But yeah. Yeah, because queen a5 is an important move, I think, in this line.
How early?
Not. What was the line we were considering when we were doing commentary? Do you remember, Pavlovich? Some line where the queen was going to a5?
I'm looking.
Yeah, because there was some other way that I think maybe it was instead of him playing queen b3, it was him playing something else, or the knight. Yeah.
Yes, you're correct. It was him playing a3 instead of queen b3. So move.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Show that real quick. So instead of his queen b3 on move 9, if white played a3,
bishop d2 here though.
And I think. Yeah, but I think. Let me check I have the file here because I know there's one key line where you play queen a5.
I remember looking at a line in my analysis where I play queen a5. I don't think it was here though.
Yeah, let me be sure. I don't want to point it out. I don't want to have it be the wrong place. But it was kind of a cool like resource. That's why.
I wonder.
Let me see if I can find it quickly. If I can't, yeah. No, it's in some other line. I'm not sure. Okay. Anyway, I was we can just cut that out of the YouTube video. Moving on.
All right, more editing for me. Perfect.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I know there's some place, but I have no idea where it is.
All right. Anyway, so queen d3, and now the problem is that he cannot stop a queen trade from happening because he can't. I mean, obviously he's out of squares. And taking on d3 would be a horrible mistake because my knight is an absolute monster on d3. Not only can you not defend your e-pawn, you can't put your rook on e1. You can't move your bishop without hanging your b-pawn. And it's just causing all sorts of problems. It might even be attacking the f-pawn as well. So I kind of realized that his goal is to keep my knight off of d3, and mine's to put it on d3. Okay, so if white can't take, what will white do? Probably rook d1, like in the game. Forcing me to take. And this position is a good time to reevaluate, because big trades have happened. And the position has changed quite a bit. So...
What's the time situation here?
40 minutes for Sarah, 60 for opponent.
Okay.
So, time situation's not that bad here. I'm only down 20 minutes on the clock. Could be worse. Yep. But the problem is there's so much chess to be played here still. I have a small advantage. But I have to play very accurately, as I am the higher rated player. In order to keep my advantage and not let him equalize, I need to be very careful. So I had to spend lots of time. I think this is where I made one of my only quicker moves. The two moves I was thinking about were bishop c5 and rook d8. And I don't remember calculating too much here, because I was like, I'm down 20 minutes, so I need to make a move, and I didn't think bishop c5 could possibly be a bad move, because I'm developing a piece, and I'm influencing the center. So I ended up playing bishop c5. Rook d8 is, I guess, what's in my book. I couldn't really figure out, like, if my king is that safe on c7. Like, I wasn't really sure where I wanted my king. And that's something that would require a lot of thought for me to understand, and I didn't have time to think too much about it. Because, I don't know, I was like bishop e3 and my dark squares, I don't really know where to put this.
I think from seeing how the game went, it makes a lot of sense that your king would be good on the side. It's hard to tell in this position, I agree. But the way the game went, where he's all this counterplay against your queen's pawns, like, it would have been really useful if your king was on the queen side.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have an opinion either way, whether my king belonged over here.
Right.
No,
I think at this point in the game, I think it's really hard to tell. Like, you really can't tell. But now, I play the game, it makes sense that rook d8 with a tiny bit better bishop c5. But bishop c5 is definitely not it's not a mistake. It's just rook d8 is a bit better.
Yeah. It was I would have liked to, think more here and figure out, like, what the plan is after rook d8, but I just felt like I needed to start moving a little bit faster or I would have a disaster. And bishop c5 cannot be bad. so I played it. And it's like second best. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a bad move. I think it's like a tenth of a pawn or so.
It's logical.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any problems. My only worry is like, now I'm kind of thinking maybe I really did want my king here, because I feel like it's kind of hard to play king e7 to stay in the center for the endgame. So I ended up castling. But with the rook traded off, that wouldn't be a problem. So I wasn't so sure. Here I actually felt pretty confident. I think I got up and I walked away for a while. Took a little break. Because I didn't envy him at all trying to find a plan in this position. He played knight c3, and I think that really the only point was to do this. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he's reactivating the piece, I guess, as well. Maybe there's other points to it that I wasn't.
No, I think it is very hard for white any real player. It's just kind of sad position for white. Like, you don't have anything to do, and your pawn will overextended, and yeah, not fun.
Also, maybe he wants a3, but he's not getting a3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a3 feels slow. Because if he plays a3 here, I think I just play knight d5, and now knight c3 is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't do it here. He was saying he wanted to play a3 earlier, but I was like, but when? Because knight c3 is preparing a3. However, I think I came up with probably like the best little plan here. I felt it was. I'm not sure.
Your moves here.
What? Hello?
No, I said I like moves here. Yeah.
You're breaking up a lot, Josh.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, can you hear me now?
No.
Yeah, I think
sometimes.
You used your... I think you used your activity or his weaknesses. Or weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the position I found super interesting, because it's I think the way I described it, like the way it felt, maybe this is just stupid, but the way it felt to me was sharp yet dry. What I mean by sharp, kinda. I mean, it's gross like cheesecake, but it's, when I say sharp, I just mean that the best moves are required from both sides. However, they're not very easy to find, for me at least. For him, they're kind of easy to find. And it's dry because there's only like so many things that can happen here, I guess. Like, maybe this is a position I in the past I would have considered to be boring, is why I thought that. You could go knight d4 as bishop protects the knight, the exchange. If I go knight d4, he takes it. If he takes with the knight, then maybe it's okay, because I have knights. I have knight c2. But at the same time, I mean, like, I don't know. This looks bad.
I mean, you get to play knight a1, right?
Right, so that's something at least. But this isn't what we want. So the goal is to win the e-pawn, basically. And if not, we just want to create more weaknesses for white, because, okay, it's one thing to be able to hold a slightly worse position when you only have one weakness, because you only have one thing to worry about. But when you have two, it's much harder, because you have to multitask, you have more than one thing going on, and the weaknesses influence each other, and your pieces can only be so many places at once. So I would like to put a knight on d4. So I play knight c2, rook b1, and now I play this knight to d4. And the current threat is just knight takes f3 followed by knight e5. Just winning a pawn and just destroying white's pawn structure and being close to winning. White cannot take on d4 because, well, I take with the bishop, double attacking the pawn, and obviously he can't move 2 pieces at once to defend the pawn. He can't defend it with a pawn because his f-pawn is pinned. So I thought this was already very good for me, and I was having trouble finding a move for him. What was the time situation here?
52 to 27 minutes.
Okay, 27 minutes. My opponent has 52. And I spent...
It's getting a little close on time.
Yeah. A little ridiculous. So I'm spending all my time making sure all my moves are good and making sure that I understand why they're good, so that I'm not just guessing and not actually improving at chess ever. And I spend all this time like working this out, and like finding ideas, and then my opponent just instantly takes on d4. To which I was very surprised and confused because he obviously didn't look at bishop takes. He just didn't look at it. He probably thought I was going to take with the knight or something, which I don't really understand because I think bishop e3 is like winning a piece. So I don't get it, personally.
But that's just you.
That's bad chess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I take with the bishop because I did not want to give up a piece. I wanted to win a pawn. And now I'm the advantage is still only around +1 for me. So I still have a lot of grinding to do, and I have like 25 minutes probably at this point. So knight e4, bishop takes e5 probably played pretty quickly. I think I actually did spend a little time here just making sure that I'm super okay with, like, I don't know. I was just hoping there wasn't... I was looking for any tries that he had here, and he didn't really have any.
Yeah, you spent a minute and a half to check.
So I like what he did here. He came up with a good little plan, or at least a good way to try and get some counterplay, a good practical move. I don't think it's anywhere near the best move, but practically, I thought it was very good. And I thought it was annoying to see.
But honestly, what else does he do?
Okay, like a bishop e3 is normal looking.
Yeah, but what does it achieve?
He's controlling some dark squares.
But like he lost a pawn, he has to do something, right?
Yeah, controlling squares is something, right?
His move, I think, is the only way to try to equalize the game or to gain counterplay, because I think he doesn't really have any counterplay at all.
I agree.
Besides the move he played.
Yeah, and it's not technically the best move, but practically it probably is. So b4.
Yeah, I would give it an exclam, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. So
exclam.
I wasn't happy to see it. But I also was trying to stay calm because I knew that I hadn't really done anything wrong, so there should be no reason for me to be nervous or worried yet. Here, I had to have a little debate with myself because I would like to connect my rooks and get my king to a better square. However, in endgames, it's usually better to keep your king in the center rather than castling. But here, I had flashbacks to the last time he beat me, where I was just completely winning. I just forgore about this exact type of thing, or it was like a check, and I just lost instantly for no reason. I forgore. But, I mean, I feel like the point stands. Like, my king isn't that great on e7, I feel. So I castled to connect the rooks, which is the best move. But I wasn't so sure about it. I wasn't entirely sure. So here comes the counterplay, alright? So he plays bishop e3. Further clenching some control dark squares. And the more control he has over the dark squares, the harder it is for me to advance my light squared weaknesses. Because he wants to play knight c5 and attack my light squared pawns, you know. And if I push my pawn, I don't see how I'm making progress. It's just a little bit annoying. How much time did I have here? 15?
22.
22? Okay. So I'm pretty sure I made this move relatively fast.
Yeah.
I played rook f to d8. Because I was seeing little ideas with knight takes b4. Here and there. So, like, kind of threatening to take on d1 and then taking on b4. And then there are also some cases where if he trades, I'm still threatening to take on b4 because if he recaptures, this is a back rank checkmate he has to worry about. So this is why I played rook d8. However, now I have kind of a problem. Because my initial intention in this position was just to play knight takes b4. But I couldn't really... I was like, okay, where do I put my rook here? Rook d5 was the only move I really thought made some sense. Because otherwise he's getting like a tempo on my rook somewhere. I have to stay on this file, otherwise my knight will actually be hanging. And after rook d5, I just didn't see like a big advantage here. And that's pretty much the only reason I didn't play it.
And I think it's not that big of it. It's like +1, I think. So it's not like a massive advantage. It's just, you know, you're maintaining your pawn advantage.
I thought
that he doesn't really have compensation for, but yeah.
Right. I thought this looked very hard to try and win in time pressure.
To convert, yeah.
Yeah, like...
Yeah, definitely.
So I started looking elsewhere. And I thought for a long time, and I was like, okay, how do I create a weakness? Maybe his b4 pawn can be a target at some point. Maybe the a2 pawn can be a target. If they're allowed to advance too far, then they might be strong and they might be working well together. Especially if I give up one of these pawns and he's able to get his pawns going, I mean, it's probably just a draw. I might lose if I'm not careful. So, I played b5, which is not a bad move. And the point is that if he takes on a6, I have rook a8 and rook takes a2. And this looked a lot easier for me to win, because the b-pawn I thought looked very hard to defend, because it's on a dark square, and my knight can attack it better than his knight can defend it, and I also have a rook and a bishop to attack it with. So I thought I could probably win this pawn. If not, I can maybe even trade one set of minors and the rooks and bring my king in somehow. I mean, I have a lot of options here. So I played b5, which is not bad. But now after g3, here is where I make my mistake.
Yeah, this is a critical position. Actually, there have been like a couple of critical positions over the last few moves. That's what's difficult because you're.
I feel
you're
like
already
every
low on
position
time.
has been kind of critical. It's
Yeah,
rough.
like you've had to be like quite accurate. Actually, it's kind of annoying because your opponent just like let a pawn go like just easily without even like worrying about it, and yet you still have to be pretty accurate not to let your advantage just like totally disappear. So it's pretty annoying, very frustrating game.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think at this point the time pressure was starting to scare me a little bit. I don't remember how much time I had here.
11 minutes.
Yeah.
You spent like half of your time on b5. Maybe that was the.
That's probably the problem. But
But it is tough.
I couldn't find an advantage after knight takes b4, which is apparently best. I still kind of like b5 better practically, by the way.
It does make sense because you're fixating a weakness.
Yeah.
And you have a dark square bishop.
Yeah, I think it's
right?
yeah.
My bishop is
especially
so
with the time situation. Yeah, I think it's okay.
I felt it simplified a few things for me, so I wouldn't just instantly blunder into like a dead draw.
I believe that you, Josh, said like that was one of your first moves you said, I think, because fixating the pawn.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did suggest b5 in the commentary. Yep.
Yeah.
So b5, I think, is probably, if I played this game again, I would still probably play b5 if the time situation was the same and everything. However, okay, here I kind of was like panicking a little bit because I didn't want to have to play rook a8. I mean, that's hideous. I could maybe play this, maybe? I don't know. I like where my pieces are, where like right now, where they are. Because my knight is keeping his rook gimped. I have the d file. I don't want to give up the d file. And my rook has to at least be able to take on a2. So, all that being said, black to play here, find a good move. Makes sense if you think about it. Did you consider bishop d4 to simplify? I considered it so hard that I actually, it physically manifested itself onto the chessboard. But that was my thought exactly. It was like, I have no time, simplify. Yeah, bishop d4 is my first not so great move.
It's a very natural move, though. I mean, I think I suggested in the commentary also. But it's the only reason it's not good is because of one, like it has this very specific refutation, basically. Otherwise, it would be a good move.
I think
there's like one,
right?
Yeah. There's like one little trick that White has, which he didn't see.
Yeah, we'll look at this in a minute. So the best move in this position for black is actually h6.
Yeah. Because
as I said, my pieces are placed well already, and okay, I'm getting rid of any back rank issues, and I'm just it's a classy waiting move almost, because now it's like, oh yeah, okay, you make a move though. Now it's your turn to have to think here.
Yeah, White is like nearly in zugzwang here actually. It's very hard for White to play something good.
Yeah. And here, like, I don't know. I don't know what White plays. It's really difficult. If White plays knight takes a6, there's rook a8. George, thanks for the Twitch Prime. So, okay, I play bishop d4 because I'm like, I have 10 minutes, it's time to simplify. Which allows a shot from White, so now it's White to play. I kind of maybe disagree a little bit with the computer and with Josh here.
What do you mean?
That it's I allowed I mean, I know that I allowed something, but my opponent took on d4.
Oh yeah, I mean his move is just bad.
Well, I'm saying that if he takes on a6, I was actually probably happier to see this because I play knight e5 and I'm gonna put my rook on the second rank, and you're gonna have the like. I feel like it's easier for me to create a passed pawn. You might get like. I think I want basically, if I can take this pawn, trade these off, and win like the pawns over here, like even if I give up my knight for the b pawn, these 4 pawns versus the knight, I feel like are my best winning chances.
Right.
Yeah.
So like a situation with a4 here and takes and b5, a3, b6, a2, rook a1. I can't. I mean, it's a little scary. Can I play rook d2 here?
After e7, do you just have a draw? That's what you want, or you used to have the perpetual?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess it was silly.
You could show them the draw just for fun though. It's kind of a pretty little draw at the end.
Bonk, 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 bonk.
I don't think. I'm not sure if this whole line after a4 is forced, by the way, but yeah. You gotta go to f1, yeah. And then you just have this perpetual. It's very pretty. I like it. Yep, or he could commit suicide.
Okay.
Or as Peter Lecko says, he suicided.
Yeah. Thanks for the 100 bits, hamster him. Oh yeah. So I mean, I thought I was being overly optimistic. Oh god, I was being overly optimistic. About this cut. About this position, because I don't know. I just.
Yeah. Well, no. So I think objectively, I mean, after bishop d4, your advantage, like it's a dead even position. It's like 0-0-0. But in this position, after like in the line you were just showing, if he takes on d4 and then takes on a6, the line you were just talking about, right? Yeah. Yeah. This position, the nice thing though is that it changes from you having to be precise to he has to be precise. So even though it's objectively equal, he actually has to find precise moves finally.
If he's not finding the precise moves, I win.
Right, right.
So I thought that because he's being careless and kind of trying to flag me, best chances, like, I thought.
Right.
Yeah, good practical choice.
Right. Plus, I mean, let's get the pieces off the board so I don't hang them, because you know how I am. Okay, but he takes on d4. I take with the knight. If I take with the rook, then he can take on a6, and now I don't have rook a8.
Okay, but can I show you like two lines really quick though that I think were pretty important?
Okay.
Is that so? If you go back to this position, so after bishop d4. He actually, the line that's really important to point out is that he should just take on a6. And he should take immediately. And then if you take on e3 and takes back, after rook a8, he has the move a4.
Oh, right.
And that's like a really key line. A4 gets an exclam, and this is the move that equalizes for white here.
Yeah, and this is what Josh was worried about, this line, but I wasn't going to play rook a8, which is why we were disagreeing. I remember now.
Right.
I thought knight e5 looked tricky. But a4, yeah, and the problem here is that if I take on a4, he plays b5, he's defending his knight, he's attacking. The pawn is supported already. And
right.
He's either going to trade these pawns off, or I might lose. Like it's
pretty scary.
Scary.
And one important thing to point out, I think, is if you go back to, remember when h6 was the best move? If you go to that position.
Yeah. Hold on.
And the difference. It's important to point out the difference, I think. So, yeah, here, if you had played h6, if white plays knight takes a6 and tries to do the same thing, here you just have b takes a4, yeah, and with the bishops on the board, your dark squared bishop just escorts your pawn to a1. So this is just like losing for white.
Right.
So that's why it's different after trading the bishops. So that's an important difference, I think.
I didn't really consider him playing a4, if I'm being honest. I probably wouldn't have played bishop d4 if I knew that was an idea. Okay, but like in this position... Oops. What am I doing? In this position, I'm glad that I didn't play, didn't see... I don't know. I just didn't really consider rook a in this specific position. I wanted to play knight e5.
Well, I think a4 is a... I think a4 is a move that's hard to see from afar, but I think he definitely would find it if it was on the board. Like, I don't think he would miss it.
Right.
So yeah, I think your knight e5 is a better practical move on your part there. Yeah.
I just wanted to get this f pawn out of the way and made him like maybe he's dumb and he'll play king h1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the 100 bits, Hamster Ham, again. Not drunk. Okay, so it's getting down to the wire here.
Yeah, you had 6 minutes.
I have 6 minutes. I think I'm gonna stop keeping score in like a few moves here, but thankfully it was on camera, so I know what happened. So I like my chances here. I feel like my knight is really, really strong on d4 and it can be supported by a pawn. And it's not easily kicked out of the way, and it's defending my b pawn. I feel like all I really need to do now is bring my king in.
Mm-hmm.
However, rook d1, e5, knight c7 is an annoying move. More back rank tricks again. So if I take on a2, he takes on b5. And I cannot take back because he will checkmate me. I saw this and I played rook c8, which is a very good move. Because obviously now it doesn't work because my rook is defending. So he has to play knight d5 or... I mean, knight a6 just looks dumb. So knight d5 is what he plays. And now I play rook c2 and my pieces are getting active. If I win the a-pawn, I think my chances are pretty good. Not just because I'm up a pawn, mostly because of the piece activity. Extra pawn helps, but I mean 4 versus 3, like if it's just like a knight ending, I don't know how I would possibly win that. So we need to keep this outside pawn just for the possibility of creating an outside pass pawn. That's how we win. When these pawns are traded off, my winning chances go way down. So my opponent found like a really, really good annoying move here again. The best move. So white to play here and continue to be equal. I mean, I guess it's not that hard to see if you are aware of the things in the position, but I mean, I had under 5 minutes, so I was like, ugh, you can do that.
I think people rated like under 1,000 will easily find this move. And people that are high rated easily find the move, but people in the middle might have a hard time.
Yeah, I agree, because the people who are under 1,000 will find it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
So here the best move is rook a1, defending the pawn, which would be the point of the move to the 1,000 rated player. But to the higher rated players, it's to support the a4 pawn push.
Right.
And create
and trading off the queen side.
Yes.
You can move your pawns?
Yes. So that was annoying to see. And then here, I think I thought till I had like, what, 2 minutes left?
Correct.
And I was like, fuck this, man. I'm like, I have... My winning chances are almost 0. I know what I'll do. I'll make a gimp suit. So okay, the two things I have to worry about: back rank and no counterplay. So he's making counterplay, so I will also, okay, sorry, I forgot I threw this in, threatening to take things. I don't know, some sort of tactic probably is there.
I think maybe you're threatening like knight f3, king g2, knight takes h2. Maybe that's the threat.
Yeah,
that's what I thought
too.
in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was mostly just like, I don't know, might have a tactic. So okay, and then I play f5, which is even better with the knight on e3, because now f4 will come with tempo. So I think the ideas were actually attached, but the problem is I'm making like a tiny bit of progress here, but so is he, and it's just equal. Like the position is still equal, and I'm still trying to win. And so it's a hard job for me. Thank you for the raid, Chess Dojo Live. Right now I am examining a game I played on Tuesday with a bit of a devastating end to it.
Heartbreaking game.
Heartbreaking, yes. Yeah. So I'm a high-rated player by around 200 points. And I kind of feel like I have to win. So I don't want to take a draw here, but I have 2 minutes and my opponent has like 45. And I'm really trying to create something here, but it's just impossible. Because he played this great rook a1 move, yes, my winning chances are now gone, because I have to give away my b-pawn. So I play f4 first, because I want to put I want to put the knight in the gimp suit. Meaning that he doesn't have very many squares here. So he attacked my rook and I moved it. And okay, critical position. So here's probably the most infuriating thing that happened in the game. The reason I didn't play knight c2 was because I saw rook a4 and I didn't know how to evaluate that.
You see like this double exclam move.
Yes.
That's funny.
Yep.
So initially I wanted to play knight c2 and just do this and this.
Mm-hmm.
But if I play knight c2, rook a4, and I take it, a6, I've blocked my rook from attacking from behind, and if I take on b4, there's a7. I cannot play rook a4, I cannot play rook b8. And I lose. And I saw that and I was like, insane. Holy fuck. And then I made a retreating move instead, which is a blunder.
I feel like if you hadn't been studying these rook versus pawn endgames, you never would have found that move, and you probably would have won this game.
Yeah, maybe.
So studying endgames actually lost you this game. In a ridiculous way.
So here's the interesting thing, though. So knight c2
don't study endgames.
Knight c2 is the best move, and rook a4 is the best follow-up. However, the line that I should have seen with a minute on the clock was that a6, I can just play a3, and he has this position is equal. This is zeros because he has to force a draw, pretty much. Because if I make a queen, I'm up a rook.
Obviously drawn position.
Obvious.
This is a hilariously drawn. This is a hilarious draw. Like,
so this is pretty funny. This is what should have happened, I guess.
Also, you were under a minute when you saw rook a4. He only spent a minute on his move.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Because I was anticipating like knight c2 from afar. Like anytime. I had seen it from back, like, I don't know. It was a concept I was aware of, that if he's playing a5, that's probably not the best idea. He probably wants to take and get rid of my pawn, because if it gets too far and I take it, then my winning chances are renewed. Plus, you know, like, tempi. So in this position, instead of playing knight c2 like I had originally planned, I had to scramble and find another move that didn't lose on the spot. And I did not succeed in this. I could have played rook c2, I could have played rook e2 and done this. This is what I should have done, if not knight c2.
Yeah, what happens on knight c2, rook a4, rook b4, Sarah? Just for...
Rook b4?
For the... Yeah, rook takes b4.
Just rook a2 probably, and then I push.
Yeah, rook 2, and then the pawn is still... Yeah.
You know, it needs 3 moves.
The problem is knight is hanging, so the line would be like rook c4, a6, rook c8, a6, and your knight is hanging, and a8 is a threat. You're going to lose the knight, basically.
The rook is overworked. I cannot defend the rook on, or the knight on c2 and the threat of promotion.
Yeah, so that's a good line to,
I don't think
show people, though.
I don't know if I looked at that. I think I just was like, what the fuck? And then I stopped looking. Okay, but knight c6 is not very good because after a6, I have to play this, or I can take and I can give up a piece, and I probably can hold this. Especially if I go
retreating a piece.
Yeah, I retreated a piece, and as we know, that's almost always a mistake. So knight a7, and then he like put his hand over a bunch of different things before finally deciding on the only move that is winning, which annoyed me. Rook d1, and the problem here is the threat of rook d8 followed by rook d7 winning the knight.
Really? That's the idea?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I know you're making fun of me, but...
no, I'm making fun of your opponent.
Oh. Yeah, so I play knight c6 because I have to defend shit. And now that he's not supporting the push, I don't have to be blockading it anymore. And I'm pretty sure...
You missed the win, right?
Yep.
Here, yeah, I think you're right.
Well,
he's still winning here.
Oh.
Yeah, probably here.
Okay.
Yeah, after the next move. Yeah, here.
Okay. Yeah.
So I offered a draw after knight c6. It just kind of came out. I wasn't expecting it. Sometimes that just happens where I'm like I didn't even know I was going to offer a draw, and I already offered it. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I offered a draw. It was because I kind of felt like my advantage was gone and I might be losing. And then my opponent goes here.
Knight d2, huh?
Yeah. Or maybe I didn't offer the... Where did I offer the draw exactly? Maybe it wasn't here. Because I remember, like, immediately after... Well, I mean, we'll get to it. But... So here I only have one move that doesn't lose.
But he used.
You want to point out where he won, though?
Yeah.
A second.
Oh.
He used 20 seconds for knight d2.
Yeah, he played knight d2. Yep. Maybe it was here.
Which is a blunder.
It is here.
Yeah, I did offer the draw here. Yeah, I did offer the draw after knight c6, and then he played knight d2, and I think he offered me a draw. And I had 12 seconds.
True.
You only get one draw from me. Like,
it's funny that both of you draw. When each of you offered a draw, you're playing a blunder.
No, I didn't do it playing a blunder. I played it. What? I offered a draw when I was already.
Oh, it wasn't after. Okay. But his was. He offered it after making a blunder, gave away the win.
I had already been losing for like 2 or 3 moves when I offered a draw.
Yeah, true.
Okay.
True.
But he played knight d2, and I think he offered me a draw, and I just kind of ignored him because I don't know. I guess that resonated on a personal level.
Do you want to show the win?
Yeah. So what is the win that white missed? It's not super difficult to see. In fact, it was unavoidable by me.
It's connected to some tactic that was mentioned recently.
Yes.
Automatic.
Yeah, if I offer you a draw and you say no, You offer me another one? Fuck you. I'd rather lose. That's my attitude. And listen, like, okay.
Correct.
Yes, A7.
Jonathan.
Putting the knight back on A7, so we have this tactic once again. Which was the point of Rook D1. So.
But why you play winning move when you can, you know, draw? Right.
So I played King F8, which is another blunder. It's actually equal in this position.
Yeah.
What is the move to draw here?
Oh, I see. I think you have to see why King F8 fails.
So King F7 is the move to draw, but what I didn't see was the difference between these two fucking moves are that, okay, after King F8, Knight B3, I cannot play Knight takes B4 because he gives me a check, and then he pushes the pawn, and he's already supporting A8, and if I take, he promotes. But with my king on F7, after Knight B3, I can take, because Rook D8 is not check. But of course, even though my opponent has 45 minutes, he does not find this, he plays this move. Actually, I feel like this is where he offered me the draw. I feel like, because I remember thinking it was such a stupid move. And what I wanted to see. Because the rook was keeping my rook attached to the knight. And now I can play Rook A2, and I actually kind of liked my winning chances again. Because I'm going to win the A pawn back, probably. So I said no to a draw here. He played Knight F3. I took on A6. Rook B7, attacking my little pawn. And then I went Rook A3. And the point behind Rook A3, as I set up a trap, if he plays King G2, I was going to play G6. Now, the point of G6 is that if he takes now, I have Rook takes F3. And he doesn't have
diabolical.
He doesn't have a check to get his rook out of the fork before recapturing. So I would be winning here. So that's the point of G6, and this is what I was hoping would happen. However, he instantly played this, and I was very upset. And I have no time here. I don't know exactly what I did. Okay, I took on B4, and I was like, okay, I guess this is a draw. Because he's going to win my B pawn. And then this happened, and then I was like debating between two moves, and then I realized that he was threatening mate in 1. And then I played King F8 and flagged.
Ugh. Sick. Sick.
And this is an equal position.
I also threw up too, probably. I said you threw up when she ran out of time.
Yeah, my opponent pretended not to see it for some reason. I don't know.
The smug little fucktard, okay? He acted so fucking smug.
Yeah.
His little Coca-Cola double grab gambit opening prep brain got an equal opening and then flagged. And he acted smug. Okay, buddy.
I lost. I ran out of time. But yeah, the way he offered me the draw was like, I hate winning like this, so I guess I'll give you a draw. I was like, fuck you. Fuck you. I will lose this if I want to, bitch. You can't tell me fuck you.
I like how it was a perfectly nice game review and it's just profanity and save it right for the end. We lure all the nice little kid improvers in, and then right at the end we smack in the face.
Hello, Chess Dojo. Chess Dojo viewers.
We held in the tism for a while, okay? Jesus.
I love it.
So anyway.
Woo!
That was Fluff Pigeon. I thought that was Pavlikit.
What was that?
Oh. Oh.
It sounded a lot. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anyway,
That was a good one.
Like
good one.
A lot of what I find comfort in is weak players seeing the result, or like even watching the game, they'll be like, "I guess he was just better than you." Huh? But anyone who has one iota of chess understanding or skill feels my pain, and they side with me no matter what. So.
Yeah, that was like the most tilting, frustrating game ever.
Yeah.
That was really.
Yeah. Well, like he didn't spend more than 30 seconds for any of the captures, like any. And
he's improved a lot. I mean, you gotta give him credit. He's like 1800 now. Like he's not actually a 1700. He's like.
No, he's capable of playing some really decent chess. Found a couple very nice moves.
Rook A1 was fantastic. B4 was fantastic. Rook A1 was fantastic.
Why doesn't he play chess?
Yeah.
Why
I just don't understand why people play for a draw with the white pieces in the opening. Like. I mean, you have the white pieces. Like you can play for a win.
And he's an opening streak.
Well, and like it doesn't hurt that the last time I played him, it was like probably the worst game of my life, because I worked really, 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 really hard and was winning, and I just one move, instant blunder where the game is just over. With no time, same time control. Maybe there's a bit of a pattern.
Pattern?
Yeah. But. I don't know.
I think over time the pain will go away, but you can be proud of the game. I think.
I want to take a look at this graph because I have a feeling it's gonna be very goofy looking.
I see.
Yeah, I'm interested in this. Your game made cheesy sad.
Yeah, so I like just equalized out of the opening with the black pieces, and then I slowly grinded an advantage out, and then I am in time pressure and I play a move that simplifies things, but I mean, of course I can't simplify things because I need to play accurately, and then it's equal, and then oops, and then this happened, and then
it is a little surprising.
It was equal again
after looking at it. It's still surprising how close it was, how small the advantage was for so long, though.
Yeah.
Even though he made some pretty obvious bad moves.
Looking at this graph and understanding that I have to win is pretty frustrating. When I only had one move to win, really.
Right. Yeah.
So I was actually more accurate than my opponent.
Surprising.
That's
even more tilting. Even more tilting when you're more accurate than your opponent and you lose.
Well, I mean, I lost on time. Like.
Well.
True. Yeah.
It's my fault. I don't really understand. I just thought I had more time than that. I guess. I don't know. I think maybe it's playing online.
I'm actually surprised
I underestimate how much time it actually takes me to move a piece and hit the clock.
Right. I mean, he was 91% accurate, though, which is, I mean, not too bad, really. Which is, I mean, granted, most of his moves were pretty obvious. Two of them, I give him credit for finding that they were pretty good moves, but.
Wait, I have to yell at someone in the chat. There's someone who just said something really stupid in the chat, and I have to yell at them. All right, Jonathan, you are a very bad chess player. You have just told me bishops would be better in open endgames. Try not to exchange next time. Horses for closed pawn structures. Listen, it wasn't an open endgame. What do you mean? This is a closed position. I exchanged the bishops. That's like the best. Oh, he means bishop d4. Sure, but I already addressed why I played this and why it was bad.
Yeah, that's a true general thing in that position.
Fix
we slap these in chat.
Listen, I just feel like you're oversimplifying what happened a lot. That bishop. I already said my bishop is very good here. I just also said like 10 other things that were happening in the position. And sometimes you can't just say things like that and it works. Sometimes there are other things in the position. You know, like it's good to respect the bishops. That's very good. But there's a point where you have to understand when to respect the bishops and when it's okay to trade them.
What did that one YouTube comment say? Like trading the bishops on d4 made me burn inside or something?
Oh, right? No, a3 made me... Or trading the knight for the bishop on c2.
Yeah.
That was the Makaganov game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the bishops, so it was a very good trade. But anyway, that was a sad because I think you did play the opening very well in a 9, and then you played a lot of moves, and then you weren't even losing it in the game.
Yep.
Just super. I think it's a GIMP time control. It's one problem.
Yeah.
Basically, they're playing the Denver Championship with a Markman time control.
Yeah.
Like some ridiculous. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty ridiculous control.
I mean, all I can say is that the quality of this game, I don't think really reflects my ratings.
I think the time pressure it reflects rating pretty well. Because I think you played a lot of good moves. Yeah, I think you did a good move.
I think you played very well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Until you had.
I mean, I know it's upsetting, but I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's a game to feel really bad about, even though it is super upsetting to lose.
The thing is, it still comes down to confidence, because I could have played all of these moves in the opening in like 30 seconds each. I really could have. They were my first instinct, but I just spent all my time blunder checking and for one, and also making sure the moves are good instead of just playing them because I'm pretty sure they seem good. Like, just because I could have played these moves instantly, but I feel like to learn, it's better to actually understand why you're playing the moves. And I'm at a point right now in my chess career where I'm really just allowing myself to lose rating points, because I think long term I'll be a much stronger chess player because of it.
Yeah.
And I won't be artificially boosted like so many people I know who just protect their rating at all costs.
That's what I meant when I said, like, when the pain goes away, you can be, like, sort of proud, or at least more proud than your opponent.
I feel like...
Because your opponent didn't play chess, and you played actual chess.
I play chess with integrity, which short-term kind of people just think that you're not very good at chess, I guess, but those people I don't really have much respect for, so it doesn't really matter, because sure, they have the number to back it up because they're higher rated than me, but I don't really respect these people as chess players. I'm not naming names, but yeah. Eventually, I think I will probably shoot up pretty quickly. As soon as I just work out all these horrible weaknesses and kinks in my game. Gotta work out the kinks with gimp suits, you know.
It's tough getting out of the closet.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I will be shooting up rating, not heroin. Would you enjoy chess more if all the pieces looked like worms? If they all looked like worms, how would I know who does what?
Anyways.
Bye, YouTube.
But I think the places that you're like, that you're losing rating point is like in these weird kind of like fluke type things. It's not, you're not losing rating points because your understand's bad.
Like
you're losing rating points based on like more practical aspects of playing than you are like knowledge or skill in chess.
I think
like,
that's a good problem to have, all things considered.
Yeah.
And I think it's a temporary one. And no, it's not that I'm underrated, because obviously my rating is the way that it is for some reason, and I have a lot of weaknesses. I'm just saying it's a lot better to have like terrible time management and confidence issues than no chess understanding. Because if you're just blindly confident in yourself, that is like maybe the most important thing in chess.
Honestly, probably worth 150 to 200 rating points.
Yeah.
Depending where you're at.
So I'm like a 500 then?
No,
if I get my confidence? Nice.
I think the confidence was worth like, the confidence is worth 400 points for you, Pablo. It's be 2,300.
Well, no.
Who was Sarah?
My current
Sarah
rating
would
is
be
1991 because I lost to I don't know. It was like slowly working my way back up. I broke 2000 by beating a master, and then I was winning games. It was like 2018 or something, and then I don't even remember like what the game was. I think I drew a 1700 and lost to a 1700 and lost like 30 points. But so once I, am more confident in the opening, I won't have to spend so much time once I actually understand it. But I think it's better to spend time on the opening even if I know the moves, because I'm really gaining a lot of understanding of the positions, not just the stupid theory. Like if I understand how the positions work, I can figure out what the moves are without knowing theory. I would like to know theory too, but I mean, it's just going to be so much better for me in the long run than just memorizing moves and sucking at chess.
Yeah, if you just sit and look at a position for an hour, you're gonna get better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm like, putting the work in is good for me. You can't. There's no such thing as like a waste of time in chess. Like if you're putting in a lot of effort into something, that's not a waste of time.
Well, you definitely a game that if you're playing somebody, say, 500 points lower rated than you, and you were lost, and they just hung a piece, and you managed to win, right?
Yeah.
Just hypothetically.
Hypothetically speaking, of course.
Hypothetical.
Yeah, well, that's good. You at least
by the way.
While, right?
Good positional chess. Try some tall games. Oh my god. Let me link a game I played. I'll fucking kill you. You know that like the chess player I'm compared to the most is tall. Why would you know that? You know more about me than I know about myself.
That's a nice game. Remember the game we looked at where Anna's dad beat Tal?
I have the game.
That was fun. Anna Cramp's dad beat Tal. That was a game.
Is Josh breaking up for everyone or just me?
Yeah. For me also. Josh, get closer to the mic, please.
I'm breaking up both of you.
You're breaking up with us?
Wait.
Well,
I think you guys are breaking up.
Okay.